Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jeanelle. Slade. Russ is on assignment. We'll check in with him a little later. Well, tonight, ice jams and flooding are forcing more road closures and alternate routes for drivers trying to reach their destinations. Portions of Interstate 90 between Hardin and the Wyoming state line remain closed as the community of Crow Agency bands together to help neighbors protect their homes. Now, floodwaters wreaking havoc across south central and eastern Montana tonight. Q2's Mitch Laggy was in Crow Agency tonight to bring us a look at the interstate and met up with emergency crews helping people in need.
Exit 509 on I-90 is your last chance to depart the interstate before running into major flooding in Crow Agency. The Crow tribe has been battling flooding around the reservation for about a week. This flooding comes as the Crow tribe has already been dealing with a lack of clean drinking water due to low pressure in the water lines in Crow Agency.
We've had a unified command with the state and BIA and tribe, and making sure everybody's getting drinking water and has potable water for the town of Crow as well as the outlying areas that have been affected.
I'm standing here at the entrance to Gary Owen Road here in Crow Agency. As you can see behind me, major flooding happening on this roadway as well as Interstate 90, preventing folks from traveling between Crow Agency all the way to the Wyoming state line. There have been a couple cars behind me so far since I've been here that I've seen that have tried to pass through this section of roadway that's flooded. Not a good idea. Most of them have turned back around. The Crow Department of Emergency Services, as well as the American Mine Land Reclamation Program, have filled and placed over 1,500 bags of sand to people whose houses are at risk.
The warm temperatures, all the water just kind of came all at once, and now it's just flowing onto my property. As far as I went there about an hour ago, everything was dry, everything was nice. It was just, I was just kind of concerned because for any more water, it'd probably go under now, or go under. Thankfully, we are working together to really get the flooding under control.
The good news? Everyone I talked to on the ground said that it looks like water levels around the reservation have been falling steadily over the course of today. In Crow Agency, Mitch Laggy, MTN News.
Thanks so much, Mitch. Now, the timeline for reopening I-90 is, of course, up to Mother Nature. DES officials tell Q2 as soon as there's no more water on the road, they will open it to traffic. Well, east of Crow Agency in Powder River County, flooding has taken over streets in those rural communities. Roads are completely washed out, and crews are furiously trying to keep the water in check before more damage is done to infrastructure. Many roads have been closed and the damage underneath is devastating. Crews will continue to assess and monitor roads to keep residents safe. And over in Richland County, high waters continue to plague that area. The chunks of ice coating rivers and at times stopping and forcing water onto land. The Richland County DES says the water can rise quickly in the areas and has saturated fields, putting livestock and structures at risk. It's been an ongoing battle for crews there as the ice clogs up canals and forces residents to stay on their toes. And the Cascade County Sheriff's Office in Great Falls has also issued a flood warning due to several roads being washed out. Highway 87 from Great Falls to Fort Benton is shut down tonight. Drivers are being told they must find an alternate route. And here closer to home, this was the scene near Colson Park tonight around 6:30. As you can see, a major ice jam broke free, sending huge chunks of ice flowing through the Billings area. The bulk and force of the ice chunks dominating the river. And for a closer look, Q2 Chief Forecaster Bob McGuire is here now with the very latest on these ice jams, Bob.
It's so bizarre that Yellowstone River was totally ice-free at 5:30. At 6:30, you saw what it would look like. Now, we do have some more information, some new information that's also in Park County. Look what's happening here. We've got some flooding across many of the areas. What we see here right now basically is in Park County, the Shields River and also Paradise Valley, they're all flooding right now, and many county roads are washed out in that area, so that's posing a problem there. It's flooding from just north of Chico all the way up to Wilsall in Park County tonight. So elsewhere, as you can see, we do have this area. We're looking at flood warnings again in the Box Elder Creek area and also the Little Missouri River in Carter County. That's putting water over Highway 323. Also, we have a flood warning also at Powder River County. That's for the Little Powder River and also the Powder River. It's washing out many back roads as well. And of course, Interstate 90, as you saw, is closed in many areas. So we thought we'd show you how much more snow has to melt. You'll notice in south central Montana, most of the snow is already melted, but up in the mountains, we still got plenty of snow there. There's going to be a lot of melting, a lot of flooding for the next several more days. We'll have more in your forecast in a few more minutes. Jeanelle?
All right, thanks so much, Bob. In other news tonight, the oldest cold case in Yellowstone County solved tonight after 45 years. Yellowstone County Sheriff Mike Linder announced today a suspect in the murders of Clifford and Linda Barnhart, who were killed in their Heights home back in November 1973. The Barnharts were both strangled and were found in separate rooms. Authorities at the time say Linda had also been sexually assaulted. Now, the solving of this crime comes with a surge of success, but behind this discovery, there are also years of pain. Tonight, Q2's Zoe Zandora shows us how authorities closed this case.
I'm going to start by telling you that we met with the family this morning, and things got pretty emotional, so don't be surprised if they get emotional again here.
A double murder case 45 years later solved, but how?
A good day, a somber day, as we celebrate some closure.
After establishing our cold case in 2012, many hours were spent reviewing the case, eliminating suspects, prioritizing others, and the investigation advanced significantly in 2015 when Yellowstone County Sheriff's Office enlisted the services of Parabon Nanolab,
a DNA technology company based in Virginia. By using Parabon's snapshot DNA analysis service, which is used to accurately predict the physical appearance and ancestry of an unknown person by using their DNA, a profile was established of the suspect by predicting complexion, skin, hair, eye color, and ethnicity.
So after the snapshot phenotype was created, Parabon introduced a genetic genealogy unit. And crime scene DNA was reanalyzed across hundreds of thousands of genetic markers from which a new data file was created. That data file was uploaded to a website called GEDmatch, and it was compared to about 1.2 million participants already in that database.
Based on this, people who shared DNA with the unknown suspect were detected. Relatives were identified, allowing Parabon to reverse engineer the family tree of the unknown suspect and identify the likely contributor of the DNA, which was then passed on to detectives for further investigation.
On January 3rd of this year, we received updated information in which Parabon concluded that our suspect was one of two closely related individuals.
After further investigation, it was learned that one of the two individuals was deceased, and after collecting DNA from the suspect that was still living, Swordson Forensics, a private laboratory based in Utah, confirmed that the DNA profile obtained from that person, that relative, was consistent with the profile recovered from the 1973 crime scene.
On January 24th of this year, upon further DNA analysis, the Montana State Crime Lab positively eliminated the living family member as a contributor of the DNA profile found at the scene.
And through the process of elimination, the deceased relative was the suspect, identified as Cecil Stan Caldwell of Billings.
It's just hard to put it in words how proud we are of the work that our cold case unit has done, our detective division. And this goes clear back to the investigators at the scene.
Even though at the time the technology had not advanced to a point where someone might be identified, they knew and understood the importance down the road that everything they collected could eventually be important.
All right, thanks so much, Zoe. Now, right now, we know very little about Cecil Stan Caldwell, other than he will never have to answer for his crimes. He died here in Billings back in 2003 at the age of 59, having lived with this secret for more than 30 years. We do know Caldwell had worked with Linda Barnhart at Ryan Distributing Company in Billings, but Caldwell was never questioned and he had no criminal history. Retired Detective Vince Wallace said today no motive for the crime has ever been identified, and we will likely never know why Caldwell did what he did. Now, we can tell you at the time authorities felt the killer was likely someone the couple knew and was possibly even invited into their home. Montana lawmakers and outdoor groups unveiled a bill today to give more access to public land and private lands in Montana. The bill would enable public access land agreements with private landowners. The landowners would be paid up to $15,000 a year to grant access through their property to those public lands. Supporters say Montana has millions of acres of public lands which are landlocked by private land. And a bill to finance a new $48 million Montana Historical Museum in Helena and other museum grants statewide barely made it out of a state Senate committee today with a 10-9 vote. That bill increases the state accommodations tax from 3% to 4% starting next year and dictates 80% of that money toward building the proposed Heritage Center. The rest of the money funds a new grant program for museums and historical sites statewide. And an update tonight out of Bozeman. The city's second high school has an official name again. Tonight, the school board came to a final decision with Bozeman Gallatin High School. Well, the Montana Highway Patrol is all abuzz these days as troopers recently started using a new piece of equipment designed to bring a better perspective. MTN's Andrea Lutz shows us how the agency is now using drone technology.
All my readings are good.
A new tool.
Good to go.
Is lifting the abilities of the Montana Highway Patrol.
It really allows us to capture the scene from every angle.
And Trooper Aaron Freivaltz.
It's always been an interest and a hobby of mine.
Is no stranger to flying objects.
I fly some personal drones. I've been flying RC planes and helicopters and now quadcopters since I was about 10 years old.
He was instrumental in introducing the patrol to the use of drones, hoping to answer questions sometimes left behind in crashes.
Some investigators used to have 20-foot poles. Now we can quickly just go right above.
And these drones are being used in districts all across the state, taking investigations to the big sky.
And crash investigations have come a long way.
Back in the 80s, when pre-digital cameras even, we would have cameras, we'd have rolls of film. At a crash, you would take maybe 12 pictures of a scene. Now we're having a 3D virtual environment where we can walk through the scene again after the fact.
Getting used to a humming and buzzing on the scene of a highway investigation may take some time, as drones were only introduced in the summer of 2018.
Where it really comes into play that we've noticed a difference is in the tire marks as the vehicles are sliding across the road.
But just as fast as technology takes off these days, Freivaltz knows it can always change course.
It does have anti-collision software.
Making each day with the drone another chance to learn and get a better picture of what happened. In Billings, Andrea Lutz, MTN News.
Thanks, Andrea. And Andrea tells us as of now the drones are only used in deadly crashes, but soon MHP hopes to use them in hazmat situations and also for rescues. Coming up on tonight's 10 o'clock news, we are on special assignment down on the southern border as we check in with Russ Riesinger and Senator Jon Tester. And in sports tonight, Scott shows us if Carroll's basketball men will play for the national championship tomorrow night. Semifinal action coming up.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Breen. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.